evening. Time is 7:01. I would like to call to order the December 4th, 2025 meeting of the City of Nashua Planning Board. First item on the agenda. Scott, would we be able to get a roll call, please?
Sure. Start up here. Mayor Donchis. Bob Bollinger.
Here.
Adam Varley.
Here.
Maggie Harper. Scott Leclerc.
Here.
Dan Hudson.
Here.
Larry Hirsch.
Here.
Cameron Green.
Here.
Patricia Klee.
Here.
Benjamin Zoller.
Here.
Okay.
All
You have a
right.
quorum.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, approval of meetings from November 6th, 2025. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review the meetings and is willing to make a motion regarding their acceptance or acceptance with modification? Alderman Klee?
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Alderman Klee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Leclerc, Mr. Zoller, and Mr. Bollinger. Next item on the agenda, communications. Staff, anything subsequent to receiving our packets?
Sure. I believe we have A250162, 40 Groton Road. We have a revised staff report, updated plans showing the phasing, the waiver letter as well, that's signed waiver letter. A250041, 16 Pennachuck Street is your abutter correspondences. I think we've had a few come in. And then A250181, I just handed out to you tonight, 169 Daniel Webster Highway. That's adding a condition to the CUP that includes comments from the engineering department, working in conjunction with the building department to address some existing issues that need to be taken care of.
Okay, and Scott, just for clarification, if board members had checked the online information, the only item that was not there late this afternoon was related to 169 BW?
Correct.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Alderman Klee, yes.
May I ask a question? All of these, though, are online so that the viewers and the
correct.
residents can just go
Yep,
online
they're
and
just
see
updated
all of
links.
them. Thank you so much.
Yep. And we've also, a last-minute change to the staff report for A25-0180 for the 106 Pine Street extension, just updated staff report there. And a updated tentative agenda. We had our packet go out the Friday before Thanksgiving, so it was a little kind of last-minute and shorter rolling time for us, so apologies for the changes we've made.
All right, thank you for the clarification, appreciate it. Next item on the agenda, report of chair, committee, and liaison. I have nothing. I see Ms. Harper is not here this evening. Any other board member have anything to share at the moment? All right, seeing none, we'll move along. Before we begin our regular cases, I would just like to read for the record the planning board procedure. The procedure of the meeting is as follows. After the legal notice of each conditional special use permit, site plan, or subdivision plan is read by the chair, the board will determine if the application is complete and ready for the board to take jurisdiction. The public hearing will begin, at which time the applicant or representative will be given their time to present an overview and description of the project. They shall speak as to whether or not they agree with the stipulations and recommendations by staff. The board will have an opportunity to ask relevant follow-up questions of the applicant or staff. The chair will then ask for testimony from the audience, and the chair shall have the ability to limit the length of public testimony in the interest of time. First, anyone wishing to speak in opposition or concern to the plan may speak. Please come forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. This will be the time you express your concerns or ask questions you may have regarding the plan. Next, testimony will come from anyone wishing to speak in favor of the plan. The board will then ask relevant follow-up questions of the applicant. The applicant will then be given a rebuttal period, at which time they shall respond to any concerns raised by prior public testimony. After this is completed, the public hearing will end and the board will begin its public meeting. at which time the board will deliberate and vote on the application before us. We ask that both sides keep their remarks to the subject at hand and to not repeat what has already been stated. We want to be fair to everyone and make the best possible decision based on the testimony presented and considering all applicable approval criteria established in the Nashua Revised Ordinance. Thank you for your interest and your courteous attention. I ask that you please turn off or silent your cell phones at this time. Thank you. Before we call the first case this evening, which would be 825-0164, I would like to stipulate Chair Mr. Bollinger will recuse, as will Vice Chair Mr. Varley. In order to maintain a quorum, we'll call on alternate member Mr. Zoller. He will be a voting member for this application this evening. And Mr. Leclerc is going to sit in on discussions and call the case.
Just a clarification, you mean case 825-0179?
Yes.
Just to
Oh,
clarify.
yes, I'm
Yep.
sorry.
So,
Yes.
Okay.
My apologies. I was
Yep.
so excited. I read the DPW number.
I was
Yes.
going to say that one is January
All right.
8th.
My apologies, yes. Replace everything I said with case 825-0179. If anyone was here for case 825-0164, under new business conditional special use permits, that case has been postponed until January 8th, 2026.
Okay.
So, all right, Scott, thanks for the
Yep.
clarification. Appreciate it.
Okay, calling case 825-0179, that's ECNH Real Estate Holding, Inc., owner and applicant requesting modification of condition number 1 on the conditional use permit of a casino gaming facility originally approved on September 7th, 2023, subsequently modified September 19th, 2024. This property is located at 310 Daniel Webster Highway, Pheasant Lane Mall. Has anybody from the board had a chance to take a look at this application and want to make a motion as to whether it's ready for us to take jurisdiction? Mr. Hudson?
Sure, Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion that we take jurisdiction to case 825-0179, finding that the application is complete.
All right, so I have that motion by Mr. Hudson to take jurisdiction. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion on the jurisdiction? All those in favor?
Aye.
So that's, raise them up quick for Scott. I will not be voting on this.
Okay, 6-6,
Got it?
yep.
Okay. So we have jurisdiction. Do we have somebody from the applicant that wants to present this case?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Morgan Hollis. I'm an attorney at Gottesman & Hollis, 39 East Pearl Street in Nashua. I'm here representing the owner and applicant ECNH Real Estate Holdings, Inc. This is property which is known as the Nash, the gaming facility down former Sears building. When this was approved in September of 2023, there was a condition of approval that prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall reconstruct Pheasant Lane, Daniel Webster Highway intersection, that is the corner at Zimmerman Skis, Boards and More Business, as set forth in an attached memo from Wayne Husband. And the parties have agreed to do that. However, during the course of working out those improvements, it became obvious that changes needed to be made to the Zimmermans because we're closing off their entrance right there at that kind of unusual intersection. We have been working closely over the last 2 years with Macy's, which owns Pheasant Lane. It is a private way. We are right at the very finish line. We actually thought we were there before, but construction really can't occur after September or October, and it can't occur before March due to the holidays. So we weren't able to get it done this year, and we're hoping it can be extended one more year to the end of next year. As read into the record, it was extended in September of last year to be done by this year. It didn't get done. We're asking for one more year extension, so that requires an amendment of the condition number 1. Happy to answer any questions about where we are. We have all the design. The next step for us is to come in with an amendment to Macy's site plan, Target's site plan, Pheasant Lane Mall site plan, and Zimmerman's. We believe all but Zimmerman's would be administratively approved, and possibly Zimmerman's. We're waiting for the final changes on the Zimmerman's plan. But that would be the next step. We anticipate that in the next month or two.
Okay, questions? Alderman Clegg?
Just a quick one. I can see all the things that have happened so far, but you named all these amendments and so on to each of the plans, Zimmerman being the most difficult one. Do you feel that you're really there and could actually start come March or April?
Yes,
or May?
I don't think there'd be too much trouble. We're sort of at the last 5 yards of the football field, if you will, in that, you know, there's some lingering issues about who's indemnifying who during the construction period, who's performing the construction, do we have bonds and all that, just all the details that would be necessary, except we have 5 players and we have to make sure everybody's happy.
Just a quick vote.
Yep.
And you believe this will be, all these negotiations will be done before
Yes.
March or something, so you can actually get it started?
Very confident of that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hudson?
I would just ask it, I intend to modify the proposed condition to have completion be by August 31st. I was just curious if that would be problematic, given the fact that Zimmerman's has a conflict after August.
No problem.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr.
No, I'll
Hudson?
just, again, I said this last time too, but I'm aware of the discussions that have happened. I've had discussions with, occasionally with the engineers and the team, and can affirm that they have been working to try to bring this to fruition. So, it didn't happen on the timeline we wanted, but I'm in support of it, and given the fact that they have been proceeding orderly to try to get it done, so.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant by the board? You're good.
Thank you.
All right. All right, at this point, I'd ask anybody in the audience wishing to speak in opposition to the concern to the plan, go ahead and come forward to the microphone. Anybody wishing to speak in favor? Okay, seeing no one come forward from the audience, I'll give the board one more opportunity to ask questions of the applicant or staff. Mr. Green?
It's really for Dan, but
Yep.
Is that 2026 this year, that amendment, or would you say into next year, or the following year, sorry?
No, I think 2026 next year is fine. If they don't feel they can meet that, they'll have to come back to us and seek another extension, but there is a time of year issue where we don't want to impinge upon Zimmerman's business, which is, you know, primarily winter sports related, so, yeah, if they get the plan work they need done, get out there in the spring, there's plenty of time to construct what they need to construct within that summer season, so I'm comfortable with the August 31st, 2026 deadline.
Any other questions or for the board while we're in the hearing? Okay. I will go ahead and close the hearing on this, open the meeting. Seems pretty straightforward, but welcome any comments, discussion by the board while we're in the meeting. Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll give it a try.
Mr. Green?
I'd like to make a motion on new business A25-0179 to amend condition number 1 of the September 5th, 2024 approval, and to read as the following: prior to the issuance of certificate of occupancy, the applicant shall have received final approval from the City of Nashua's Engineering Department of the Division of Public Works for the design and reconstruction of Pheasant Lane / Daniel Webster Highway intersection, and shall post a financial security in the form approved by the City of Nashua and in the amount approved by the Engineering Department for all improvements. Said improvements shall be completed prior to 8/31/2026 to the satisfaction of the Engineering Department. And we'll have the subsequent condition A as noted in the staff report.
Okay, so we have that motion by Mr. Green to amend this condition as stated by Mr. Green with the subsequent conditions he indicated. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Second by Mr. Zoller.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Yeah, I'm confused about the certificate of occupancy portion, because I think that's been
Yeah.
granted unless it was like an interim one. I don't know if staff knows that. So I'm struggling with what the hook would be otherwise, other than just to give them the revised deadline to complete all efforts. Will we rescind the approval if it wasn't done by a time certain or something like that?
No, it's my understanding that we are still holding a surety, so that itself is the hook, otherwise we
Okay.
pull the bond and do the work.
So we don't need, the financial surety's already been posted. It's not tied to certificate of occupancy.
Right.
I think the hook would be, we would pull the bond, basically.
Right.
If the work's not completed by that date, so, maybe a amended condition that, the city will consider the project complete if all work is completed by that date, otherwise we'll proceed with, I don't know what the right language is, but we need a different change, we need some kind of a change, I think.
No, you make a good point. Obviously, we're amending a condition that was set before the CO was issued.
Okay.
And we're just amending that outside date for completion of the work. While we recognize there is that disconnect because time has passed and work's been done and it's occupied, obviously the intent is still to have the off-site improvements completed by September 31. I think that still stands regardless of the fact that this condition leads off with prior to the issuance of a CO. I'm curious what the rest of the board thinks about that. We can come up with some language to make that amendment and then run it by the applicant's representative.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please finish.
I'm satisfied with that in the light of how you described it. It's amending a previous condition. Some of that condition's already been satisfied.
Right.
So, okay, we're amending the condition. It reads as it was. We're just changing the date. But a number of those things have already been satisfied, checked off the list, so to speak. So it's just the remaining date issue that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it, is just that this is the old condition. Some of it's been met, but not all of it has. But it seems appropriate to leave the condition as is and just change the date, because they still have to meet all the key parts of it.
Yeah.
Alderman Clegg?
Thank you. I think I'm on the opposite side of your thinking, because as I read this, it says that nobody can be there until December, and the thing I'm reading here is December 31st, 2026. We already know they have I don't know if we say that we can amend condition number 1, but I think there should be a comment in there that while the certificate of occupancy has been granted, the surety bond or whatever it is will be held in lieu of until this work is completed. I do think that we have to state, because we're amending it. So the amendment is going to say the condition has been met for, I'm not condition, but the certificate of occupancy has been granted. However, it was granted for whatever reason, this would read that we're not going to give them a certificate of occupancy until that, and I know it's already been done and so on. If I were to come 100 years from now and read this, I'm not going to know this whole thinking, and I'm going to think that they didn't give certificate of occupancy. So I try to always think of it that way, so I'm not sure I feel comfortable.
Yeah, if I can just break down the condition and kind of the ordering a little bit further. We say prior to the issuance of a CO, we require approval of the design. Yes, that's been done.
Yeah.
Then we require financial surety, and that has been done. And then there's a period. So those two conditions, the design and the money to build the design, that is all tied to the CO. Those two items have been completed, therefore the CO can be issued. The last part of that is relative to the completion of those improvements. And that's that outside date that we have the flexibility of still shifting while the CO has been granted, because those two direct items that are tied to it, those have been completed. I understand where you're coming from. I think because of the way the condition was structured and frankly where the period is, I think we're okay leaving it as is.
Okay.
But if you're not comfortable with that, we can seek an alternative.
May I?
Go ahead, yep.
Yes, thank you. No, I do feel comfortable when you state it that way, that this improvements is not part of the certificate of occupancy. But you're saying this is separate and distinct from the necessary items to give the certificate. I feel comfortable now, so thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Hudson?
To make it messier, could we just, could we just say amend the second sentence in condition 1 and strike the whole first sentence, so there's not duplication of the original first sentence?
Because the only thing we're amending is the date.
So you're,
And somebody could go back and see what the first sentence was if they want, go back to the previous agreement, but all that's been satisfied. Just, it would read, a lay person reading it that hasn't had the benefit of this discussion could be confused, and as I was to start, so.
May I?
Yep.
If the amendment itself just read, change the date from this to this, that would be really clean. Because the condition is still going to exist. The only thing you're changing in the condition is in fact the date, correct?
yes.
So shouldn't what we read is that we're amending this condition number 1, just that one date, rather than trying to read the entire thing? Again, I'm just talking about from clarity, not that 100 years from now people are going to care about this, but if someone were to go back and look at it historically, I think it could be confusing.
Mr. Green?
Can we just amend the first condition to drop the second sentence and then do a new condition for the improvements at that intersection, and then all subsequent conditions attached to that? So,
Um,
go ahead.
So, Mr. Hudson, you're saying strike the first sentence, which is the bulk of that condition, correct?
Yeah, I'm saying that in the header, say, the motion is to amend the second sentence in condition 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't regurgitate the first sentence and confuse people. That was my recommendation. I'm not sure I quite understood what Mr. Green's suggestion was.
So
but-
I follow that the second sentence relates back to the first in said improvements. So therefore, in the first sentence, the improvements are, created as a condition. The second sentence relies on the first.
Okay, yeah.
I'm saying explicitly call out the improvements, but I guess it's tied back to the plan that was approved. Okay, I see.
For the sake of argument, the planning department would kind of be the enforcing agents of this, if you will. I think we have an understanding of what the situation is. I think the applicant has stated that, or the applicant's representative, that, things are very close to resolving. Just for the sake of simplicity, and if the board is comfortable, I would recommend keeping the language as is. I think, we've kind of come at this a few different angles, and I think the understanding is there. But again, we can wordsmith this if the board feels it totally necessary.
Any other discussion by the board?
No, just that I'm satisfied with the staff's draft. If we've tried to change it a couple different ways. If somebody really puts the whole record together, they can understand it, so I'm fine with the way it is after the discussion.
Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Zoller?
Mr. Chairman, could we just clarify the date for this condition? I'm seeing December 31st, 2026. Mr. Hudson is suggesting 8/31/26. Could we clarify?
Yeah, the motion by Mr. Green was for August 31st of
August
2026. That's the motion that's on the table.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, so we had the original motion, it's still in play. I think it was seconded by Mr. Zoller. Okay. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Okay, so that motion passes unanimously. And again, I'm not voting on that. Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Varley and Mr. Vollinger have returned as voting members of the board. Moving on in the agenda, Case 825-0181, property located at 169 Daniel Webster Highway, requesting conditional use permit approval for medical office space. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review this application? Is willing to make a motion regarding board accepting jurisdiction and the application's completeness?
Mr. Chair, prior to that, a point of order or question, I guess.
Yes.
Mr. Zoller, he sat on the last case. Is he sitting on this case?
Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Mr. Zoller and Mr. Leclerc are alternates.
Yep.
They will have the opportunity to participate in discussion, but they will not be voting members of this particular case.
So just further question. I mean, we don't have a full board, but so we only seat them when we need a quorum or short of quorum?
Correct.
Okay,
Since
thank
we have a constituency comprised of at least 5 regular members plus our ex officio members, that would take priority from a voting procedure. And again, Mr. Leclerc and Mr. Zoller are welcome to participate in the discussions. It's just technically, unless there is another recusal on another case this evening, we would not need them to be actual voting members.
All right, thanks for clarification.
Absolutely, thank you. So I guess getting back to case 825-0181, has any member of the board had an opportunity to review that application for completeness and is willing to make a motion regarding board accepting jurisdiction? Mr. Varley.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that case 825-0181 is complete and ready for the board to take jurisdiction.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, board has jurisdiction. Is there a representative on behalf of the applicant? Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, my name is John Crowley, representative of 169 Daniel Webster Realty Trust, the landlord, and then also of Optima Dermatology, the proposed tenant at 169 Daniel Webster Highway, from 111 New Hampshire Avenue in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So currently at 169 Daniel Webster Highway, we're proposing a medical office use performing dermatological care, including medical and cosmetic outpatient services located on the 3rd floor, converting an existing office space to a medical office use. Going through the criteria of use, the first being authorized as a conditional use, the medical office use is allowed in the RC district by conditional use pursuant to 190-15, table 15-1, use 247. The existing building is presently used for office and medical office purposes, including a RE/MAX office and a men's health clinic operating as Game Day Men's Health, who previously received a CUP at some point, I believe last year, demonstrating both eligibility for the existing code and precedent for medical office on this parcel. There would be compliance with applicable requirements and standards. The proposed medical office would comply with all dimensional parking, signage, lighting, and landscaping and performance standards. There are no proposed changes to the building footprint or height, and this is only in reference to an interior fit-up of the current building. There'd be no material endangerment to public health and safety. This is a low-impact, appointment-based use with predictable and staggered patient arrivals. There's no emergency department function, and any medical biohazard waste handled by state and local regulations as part of our best practices at Optima Dermatology. And the site is also accessed via an existing signalized intersection on Daniel Webster Highway, which supports safe egress and ingress. There'd be no substantial devaluation of the abutting property. The neighboring abutting property is St. Joseph's Hospital, currently operating as a medical office facility as well. The rear of the parcel also has a residential use divided by a thick tree line with no access from the access to the parcel to the residential uses in the rear. The compatibility with neighborhood and adjoining uses. It's located on Daniel Webster Highway, a busy commercial corridor containing heavy retail and office uses, and directly abuts the aforementioned St. Joseph's Hospital Medical Building. The residential butters to the rear, as I mentioned, are separated by that tree line and provide year-round acoustic and visual buffering to the medical office use. There would also be no adverse impact on highway or pedestrian safety, given that there's no exterior changes to the parcel. No substantial adverse impacts to natural environmental resources. Again, no exterior changes proposed for our use, just the conversion of the existing third floor of the parcel, or the property. And then adequate public utilities and community facilities. It's already serviced by public water, sewer, electric. The proposed use will not require system expansions or extraordinary public expenditures. The initial water use and infrastructure in the building has been reviewed by our general contractor and our mechanical engineer for anticipated fixture counts and any necessary improvements for water use for exam room sinks and the like, and don't anticipate that being a need in this building. And then the last criteria, there will be no downtown parking requirements. This is not located in that district.
All right, thank you. Before you step down, questions from the board? Mr. Hudson?
I just want to confirm you received the December 1st, 2025 letter from Engineer Joe Mandola and take no exception to any of the conditions requested.
I did not. I heard that mentioned. Happy to address any comments on that now.
Yeah, I'll just briefly cover them. Comment one is that the sewer service dates back to 1980. We're requesting a video just to confirm the sewer service is still in good condition and suitable for continued use. Comment two is a modification of sewer permits required for the change in use. That's generally true for any such modification. And then three, a stop bar should be painted at the approach to the driveway intersection. And then four is that we request a traffic impact report. That's just to document any change in traffic volumes as a result of the report. So that usually is a comparison of the existing use versus the proposed use. And there's a form to be filled out by somebody, a professional that's familiar with that process. And once we have that, we can determine if any additional mitigation or anything is required as a result of the traffic impact. But we can't really do that until we have that. So that's the summary of the conditions, and I apologize you hadn't received them until now, but if you take exception to any of those, let me know. But we do intend to, or I hope the board approves this with the condition that those be satisfied prior to issuing the building permit. So that's what the proposed condition is.
Yep. Happy to meet those conditions. The only one I'd have a question on is just the traffic impact report. If there's the existing conditional use of medical office on this property as it states right now, just specific for this tenant, or is there any ability to
is that in the same space, like the space you're using now? Is that a medical office? Is this a medical office to medical office?
It's no. That third floor is currently a standard office.
Oh yeah.
But within the building, it's mixed office and medical office use.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'd like to leave the condition as written to have you do a traffic impact report. Having said that, if you want to follow up with my office, we can talk to the senior traffic engineer and see. I don't know if, we need somebody to make an assessment of what the change is, but we can further discuss it, I guess, is what I'm offering. But I'm not ready to make a change to that at this point.
The only thing, Mr. Hudson, I would offer, just in terms of the nomenclature, obviously it's referred to that in city regs, but it doesn't inherently mean you're doing a full traffic study along all of Daniel Webster Highway. It's a fairly rudimentary form. I can't pretend to know what the results would say, but I think if you work with Mr. Hudson and his staff, they can give you the proper guidance, and I don't believe that this would be terribly burdensome to your effort.
Understood. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Alderman Clee, please.
Thank you, and this may be for Mr. Hudson or for the board in general. When we request a traffic impact study report, and again, I don't think there'll be necessarily anything significant with this particular thing, what is it that we are looking for, just to say what the impact is? Because if it were significant impact and we'd already approved this, it would be out of our hands. So
Yeah,
that's
Mr.
kind of.
Chair.
Yes.
I don't think this will be a significant impact. I think it's a fairly low generator use to another fairly low generator use. We do have the contribution that request for a quarter fund sort of thing, and we just want to document what the change in peak hour trip rate is to see if
Okay.
there's a basis for, it being sufficient that we would request some kind of a financial contribution. We typically, for the applicant's benefit, usually we request a contribution to the DW Highway Quarter Fund of $250 per increased trip count during the PM peak hour. So that's kind of the basis for the comment. It may be there won't be any impact based upon the uses. I don't know that. That's just why we need this exercise completed. And it probably should, the condition probably should set a TIR form, because that's, we have a form, as the chair noted, we have a form to kind of fill out. Initially, it's not like a full traffic study, and I don't envision this blowing up to a full traffic study, but we do want documentation of what the change in the trip rate will be during the PM peak hour.
Just to add further clarification, it's generally required of all applications. It's a preliminary worksheet. Again, my presumption would be, as Mr. Hudson alluded to, this is not going to show a significant impact. But I think for completeness, that's what they're asking for. So I don't want to, again, compound the issue of traffic on Daniel Webster Highway is what it is. I don't think that you're going to add to that substantially. Nevertheless, the city does have means and mechanisms whereby they are trying to improve the corridor. So any documentation that you can provide subsequent to the fact would, I believe, further the city's goals in trying to maintain and upkeep that corridor. So again, this is not going to turn into some nebulous traffic issue where you're solving problems up and down the corridor. So please don't construe it as such. Alderman Clee.
Thank you. Still on that particular thing where we just say, even if we said traffic impact report form, if in fact that does show any, whether significant or insignificant change, you mentioned a $255 over each one, is that implied, or do we have to state that they would have to meet if there is an increase, they have to meet it? Do we need to put that in here?
It would be better if the condition, if there was a condition basically that, and request a contribution,
Right.
to the DW Highway Quarter Fund,
If.
$250 per increased trip, if applicable, that would be better.
Yeah, I would feel more comfortable if we were to change that, to read that, if that's okay.
Yeah, certainly, even if, maybe even without, Dan, do you know that's the number? I just don't want to paint that.
That
into
is the number per
is it-
trip. I just
okay.
don't know, obviously, I don't know what the impact is, if any.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Just to clarify, though, I mean, that's in terms of how that's structured in the ordinance, I mean, it is a
Voluntary.
request for a
Yeah, it's a
contribution, right?
Yes.
So it's not really
It's not an impact
really a
fee.
condition. I think we
Yeah.
could, so I just want to clarify, I think the way we would probably word that is that in the event that it
Right.
generated sufficient number of trips, that you would expect a contribution request.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
I feel comfortable with that.
Other questions or comments from the board? All right. Thank you. I will open up to the public. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak in opposition or with concern to this application? Any member of the public wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none, throw it back to the board one more time. All right. Going to close the public hearing. At this time, we'll go into our meeting. Appreciate the clarification, Dan, on some of the outstanding technical matters. That being said, I otherwise think this is fairly straightforward, but we have had the piping or the sewer question come up on other CUPs, so this is not something that's being uniquely applied to this applicant. Similarly with the TIR worksheet, that's more or less required of all applicants. So again, I don't think that's an undue burden passed along to this applicant. So I think if, it seemed like the board was comfortable with the stipulations in the engineering letter dated earlier this week, with obviously one potential modification regarding the potential for some sort of off-site exaction or voluntary contribution. I don't know, that's kind of my 2 cents, but obviously, I'd like to hear from the board if you have any other thoughts on the matter.
And I personally agree with what you just said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion amongst the board? If not, I think we'd be looking for a motion, if any member of the board is comfortable doing so at this time. Mr. Varley?
Mr. Chair, I will go ahead and take a shot at making a motion on this one. So I would make a motion to approve new business A25-0181, finding that it does meet the criteria for conditional use permit approval in NRO section 190-133F. And that would include one condition, and I'm going to amend the condition as written in the staff report, so it will read, prior to issuing the building permit, all comments in a memo from Joe Mandola, Senior Staff Engineer, dated December 1st, 2025, will be resolved to the satisfaction of the Division of Public Works. And furthermore, to the extent that the required traffic impact report indicates that additional trips would be generated at the site, it's with the understanding that the Division of Public Works would then request a voluntary contribution of $250 per trip in accordance with the ordinance.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Green. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Who was the second on that? The second?
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green, thank you.
All right. Moving along in the agenda, new business, site plans. Again, the Division of Public Works project has been postponed till January 8th. Next item on the agenda would be case 825-0162, property located at 40 Groton Road. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review this application for completeness and is willing to make a motion regarding the board accepting jurisdiction? Mr. Varley, please.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that, having reviewed case A25-0162, that it is complete and ready for the board to accept jurisdiction.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, board has jurisdiction. Mr. Zajac, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Tom Zajac. I'm a civil engineer with Hayner Swanson, now IMEG, 3 Congress Street here in Nashua. Tonight representing the applicant, Bishop Girton High School. Tonight we're seeking a site plan extension for the approval of a athletic field complex located at 40 Groton Road. This is our third extension request. This project was originally approved in September of 2022. I think most of the board members were here for the original project, so I won't go into too much detail, but we've got a great program here for Bishop Girton High School in terms of multiple fields, tracks, tennis courts, a maintenance locker room facility, about 225 parking spaces, as well as a number of public pedestrian improvements on site. We were pretty upfront with the board when we came in originally in 2022. We were moving forward with the permitting of this project in advance of Bishop Girton purchasing the property, which they did after the original approval. But we were upfront that we would be back because it was going to be a long process, and here we are 3 years later, hopefully near the end of that process and ready to break ground. So BG did move forward with purchasing the land. There are a number of things that we've been working on since that time. Most importantly is fundraising for the project. But there was a little bit of hair on the property in terms of, we discussed a triangle of land. We've been working with DOT to acquire that land. If anybody's been part of a surplus land acquisition with DOT, it takes some time. Along the way, over the last couple of years, we've modified a couple of the original conditions of approval, again, just to help facilitate and give BG a little bit of flexibility as they execute this vision. So tonight, again, we're here seeking a third site plan extension. As part of that request, we're also seeking a waiver of section 190-146E1. It's outlined in my letter dated November 24th, 2025. It's a waiver request essentially to extend the typical 12-month period that the applicant would have to either obtain a building permit or establish a use on site, and to allow us to extend that by 12 months for a total of 24 months. Again, this is a unique unique project in terms of a nonprofit organization seeking to raise funds. I'll talk about phasing in a second, but essentially what that would do is give us a little more time to complete portions of the project, to vest it, so we're not consistently coming back here. We are ready to start, which was a different message than I've been preaching previously. There are some conditions we need to wrap up before that happens, and then some conditions that we'll need to continue to work through as the project progresses. The one change to the site plan is the addition of phasing plans, so those are in the back of the set. I think Scott's going to kind of roll through some of those for you. This was really driven, again, by a realistic view of what BG can construct over time, and again, allowing us to both vest the project and establish the use. It was also required by DES as part of our AOT permit process to break down 20 acres of development into chunks. I'll really quickly go through those. So the first phase is just mass grading, earthwork, and prep, again, to create that pad site. The second phase is really starting on the west side of the site, or on the left-hand side of the plan as you're viewing it. We would construct the entrance drive, some of the infrastructure, including water, electric, drainage, the multi-sport field, parking, and then maybe most importantly, the public parking and trailhead connection from the site through to the Dunstable, Mass conservation land. The second phase would be kind of more in the middle part of the site. You've got your maintenance locker room building, the tennis courts, and some additional parking. Finally, the fourth phase, again, moving from left to right on your screen to the easterly part of the site, would be the track and field and some additional improvements along Groton Road. As I mentioned, again, this is being proposed to really establish the vesting and use on site, as well as meet AOT permit requirements. So that's really it in terms of my presentation. There's a couple newer conditions that are in your packet. Those are fine with the applicant, and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Tom, one quick question. I see in the staff report, there's one waiver request having to deal with the 24-month extension, but I think in your letter, there was a second waiver request related to site plan standards. I just wanted to make sure we have the correct information. Waiver of 190-148.
Oh, I think that's just my justification in terms of meeting the waiver criteria.
Oh, it was? Okay, that was, my apologies, that was not a separate waiver request.
You worried me for a second.
All right. Okay, no, I just want to make sure.
No, it's just one waiver. Yes.
One waiver, two waivers, gotcha. All right. Other members of the board? Alderman Clee, please.
Thank you. It's not so much a question, well, in some respects it is. I understand the need to have approvals in place in order to be able to get fundraising, especially those larger dollars. They don't want to donate unless they know that you can move forward with it. Is that kind of where you're coming from, that you need to be able to get it, but you have to keep all this stuff in place in order for them say, okay, I believe that you're really going to use my money in the right way.
Exactly. It's a little bit of a, if you build it, they will come. So
Yeah.
that's what we're hoping to do. And we've got you know, that initial momentum to be able to start the project. And certainly that's our hope, is to, once folks see the site and see it being built, we'll be able to move quicker than we have so far.
I think that's pretty common. I think the Humane Society has had that issue. I can tell you with the Performing Arts Center, we had the same issue. You have to show you have everything in place for the larger wallets to open up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Questions from other members of the board? Mr. Hudson, please.
I don't know, is this so much a question as a kind of an ongoing issue or a thing to figure out, so to speak, so that when we approved this, there was some sort of unresolved traffic mitigation questions. There was a study that was being completed that was done, I believe, back in 2022, but I don't know as we fully vetted what those off-site improvements would be. This being broken into 4 phases, but makes perfect sense, you know. I don't want to wait 10 years or however long it takes to build this out for all those mitigation items to be completed. I want to time some of those for when the site starts generating traffic. So I don't know as we're to the point that we have anything specific to put in conditions. It's just I believe there's some previous condition about addressing those comments. I just want to make the board aware of that. We're not necessarily in a position today, like I said, to stipulate a certain improvement at a certain point in time. I believe we owe the traffic engineer and the applicant basically a response to that report. I've been working with senior traffic engineer husband on it. I don't think this has gone out, but we basically talked about the following items. I'll just mention them briefly. These are our comments on the traffic study. We would like to see new traffic counts for the AM and PM peak hours at the intersection of Buck Meadow Road and Main Dunstable Road. You may recall that we did the study for the middle school. Now that's open, we really want to post to assess what are we actually seeing now that that's done versus what was projected, and you know, how that may be impacted by this development. The warrants, we note that the warrants are met for an exclusive left turn lane on Groton Road. We're not requesting a full left turn lane, but we believe an 8-foot, 10-foot bypass shoulder may be appropriate treatment. So again, that's something we would want to further discuss with the applicant, what's feasible and when maybe that should happen. We've had a lot of crashes at the Main Dunstable and Buck Meadow Road, Gilson Road intersection. We recently put up some flashing stop signs there. I don't know if people have seen those. Sorry to hear that. So we, in an effort to reduce speeds on Main Dunstable, which we think is part of the contributing issue there, we were going to request a speed limit sign with radar speed feedback. There's a couple crosswalks on Main Dunstable between Conant Road and, well, there's one at the Conant Road intersection, but then there's another one between there and Buck Meadow. And we were going to request rapid flashing beacons for those crossings, be added for those crossings. And lastly, we were going to request that we widen the Ridge Road approach to allow a short left turn lane. That approach is one lane, and that will allow people to turn right while the harder move to turn left is happening. So I hope those are fairly, you know, reasonable requests given the proposed development and what the traffic study says for numbers. Again, the applicant hasn't even seen these, so I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. I just want to make the board aware of a continuing discussion that we'll be having. And I don't know what the mechanism is, but like I said, I don't want to wait till everything's constructed at a long future date before we accomplish some of these. So I hope to work out a phasing plan for some of these, assuming that the applicant's accepting of them. So be happy to address any questions about that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, your thoughts on that, Mr. Hudson. That said, I'm not suggesting that you thought we should do this. I wouldn't know how to craft that into You know, but I guess maybe it's a question for the applicant. Are they amenable to working with DPW through the process? I guess I don't know if reasonable milestones or triggers could be arrived upon. But obviously, if some of this is new information tonight, I wouldn't want to put the applicant's representative on the spot, but
I guess, are we up against a deadline, or should we continue this? I mean, maybe give the applicant, we'll issue the comments and have an opportunity. If we're up against the deadline, then I'm fine to continue it and just note that we're going to have a continuing discussion. This is what happens sometimes. Like, I remember when we went back 2 or 3 years ago, whatever the original proposal was, there was urgency, we're trying to get it approved. So some of the traffic stuff we hadn't resolved. And were all aware of that, we knew that, and now fast forward 2 or 3 years later, whatever it is, we're still at that point. No fault of anybody, they're raising money, they don't really have a project yet, honestly, right? So I'm not casting any dispersions on that, but these unresolved issues still remain is my only point and information for the board.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you. I think I would rather have a continuance so that these things don't get buried again. And as a person who was hit at the intersection of Buck Meadow and so on, and actually, it was the person coming out of Buck Meadow that hit the end of my truck and rolled it around. So I do think that certain conditions and so on should be put in place before we even give the extension. I'm the first person to say that I understand in order to get fundraising and so on, you need this, but you're not going to be breaking ground yet or doing anything as this. It's just to be able to continue this. So I guess this would be for staff. If we continued this, does this hurt the applicant?
In the sense that they would not lose the approval, it would not expire. They have an application for extension before you, so we'd consider it in process. I'm sure the applicant would love a favorable determination this evening, but if they're amenable, obviously, to continuing this discussion, no, their approval would not be in jeopardy of expiring.
As long, may I?
I'd like to hear from the
Sure,
applicant.
please.
He's right there, and we're still in our public session, so sorry.
Sorry, no, please.
So just a couple things, and I'm happy to have this discussion. I think the goal is to get the site plan extension and the waiver tonight. If you look back through the history of the minutes, you know, Mr. Hudson is correct. We came here in 2022 and said, look, we've got a project, we'd like to get an approval. We're willing to be flexible on some of the conditions. So the way I was just looking back at the original conditions, it puts the onus on the applicant to work with Mr. Hudson and his team related to the traffic items. And he's correct, we kind of did it in phases. And then as this project somewhat stalled, as we were not in a rush, you know, neither side kind of pushed things. So obviously I'd like the opportunity to have our team meet with Mr. Hudson and staff to go through these items, to work through that. But in terms of continuing, I think, I'd defer to staff, obviously the board. I think the language is already there, that the burden is on the applicant to satisfy traffic-related comments, conditions, phasing prior to final site plan signing.
Mr. Varley?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Just to follow up, either Tom or Sam, one of you, do you have that original condition in front of you? Because that was my question. How is that written?
Yeah, so it says, prior to the chair signing the plan, the applicant shall perform a Phase 1 traffic impact study as discussed with city planning, engineering, and traffic staff, period. If any off-site improvements are identified as part of the study, the applicant shall prepare and submit design plans for staff review and approval. So I think there's maybe an opportunity to broaden that out a little bit. We've gone back and forth 3 or 4 times with pieces of studies. There needs to be more discussion, but it can be along the lines of more of the general conditions you would see is address traffic-related comments from the Division of Public Works to their satisfaction prior to signing the plan. And that would put the burden back on us to come to that agreement, whether there needs to be a phased approach or not.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Chair, personally, I'm comfortable that that original condition is sufficiently broad. I think that it would encompass, you know, the possibility of that phasing. It would allow, Dan, you and your team to say, this is what we'd like phasing and come to agreement with the applicant. So I mean, that's where
I was sort of leaning that way as well, and obviously, I appreciate Mr. Hudson reminding the board that there were sort of outstanding matters related to the mitigation. But yeah, Mr. Hudson,
Yeah, I would just, given that reminder that it's prior to signing the site plan, I'm totally fine with that. I just didn't want to, get into a couple phases, create some COs without this stuff being resolved. I didn't want it to be the end of the processing, but given that it's at the beginning of the process, before the work starts, that we have to iron that out, I'm completely satisfied with that, so that's fine.
all right, I appreciate it. Alderman Clee? did you-
I really would leave it up to Mr. Hudson if he feels that they can negotiate, and whether it's all the things that are there or just something that the two entities can work out, I feel comfortable with it.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, and I think I may have mentioned this to Mr. Zajac previously, but basically, we will be looking for some of the safety improvements earlier rather than later, in full disclosure. Some of the other stuff, turn lanes and whatever, those only need when you're generating sufficient traffic at the site, but the corridor can use some of these safety improvements. They're going to have a traffic impact on it. So, yeah, but we can work together. I mean, we're reasonable. We'll
Yeah, and
figure it out.
Obviously, I'm not the one writing the check. To me, that seems reasonable. If there's low cost, short-term measures that could be implemented sooner rather than later, to me, that makes sense. But it seems like there's a willingness amongst the parties here to work together towards a resolution. So I don't think anybody is inherently objecting to that. So again, I would lean towards approval of the extension or the waiver as written. And again, understanding there are some other matters that do need to be resolved. But obviously, staff is going to perform their due diligence on that. Obviously, we trust you and Mr. Husband to follow through accordingly. So, other questions or thoughts from the board? All right, seeing none, I will open it up to the public. Thank you, Mr. Zajac. Are there any members of the public here to speak in opposition or with concern to this application? If you could just state your name for
Yeah, my name is
Sridhar.
Sridhar Donepudi. We live the development right next to the project. So in last few years, after the approval, a lot of trees died. There is a buffer zone between this new development and our development. A lot of trees died. So are they going to plant any trees that we lost because to reduce the noise? So that's we want to. I have a question about that.
All right, yeah, you can obviously, thank you for addressing your
Yeah.
comments to the board. The applicant's representative, he'll come back up and he'll have an opportunity to respond to that
Oh, yeah.
directly, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Other members of the public that wish to speak in opposition or with concern?
Good evening, board. My name is John Tretchak, 5 Early Ave, again, also abutting the project. So I just had a couple questions, more for clarification. The first would be, what's the actual planned use of the facility? Obviously, it's athletic fields, but is it for practices? It's for games? What will the usage be, like weekdays, weekends, nights? What, if anything, is going to be planned to account for the increase in traffic and pedestrian safety? As it sits currently, I do know that on the north side of Groton Road, there's a sidewalk that just kind of ends, and there's a crosswalk, and when you go across it on the south side, there's no sidewalk there, and that's on the side where the Dunstable Land Trust is and where the fields will be. So I just want to know if anything's going to be done there to, make a better sidewalk for that. And then the last question would be, is there going to be any public use of these facilities, when it's not in use by the Bishop Girton School? That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Other members of the public that wish to speak in opposition or with concern, come on up.
Hey everybody, Joe Frawley, I'm at 7 Early Ave, actually John's neighbor. Pretty much one of those houses right up butted against the football field there. Yeah, my biggest thing is, I've got 3 kids, you know, there's a lot of kids in the area. The area's actually completely changed in the last 2 to 3 years. It's a lot more residential, a lot more older people. I think there's a 55 and older whole entire section that's there. My concern is during the construction phase, what kind of equipment's gonna be coming down the road? Who's gonna be responsible for fixing the road from the heavy equipment coming through? Will there construction be going on during the weekends? Will there be, will it be going through the night? And also, what kind of safety measures are we gonna be doing? Not just the traffic mitigation after it's built, but during. So I know that that road's pretty heavily, traveled, but when it comes to the amount of residential areas that are there and the amount of people and how dense it's become in the last 2 to 3 years, what is it gonna look like safety-wise for those large equipments coming in and out at all hours of the day and time, night, things like that? Will there be lights installed? And does the city of Nashua have a rule against turning them off at a certain time? Because that's gonna go right through the trees into my house. I know it sounds like it might be in opposition to this, but honestly, I'm really excited about this as an athlete myself. I think it's a great thing, a great feature to have. But I would also love to have my 5-year-old and my 3-year-old kind of be able to make use of those facilities when they're not in use, walk around the track, just be able to make use of something that we see every single day in our backyard, if that's possible. Just like John said, just to reiterate, we do need a crosswalk there. It's extremely dangerous. There really isn't anything for it to go to. It doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other members of the public wish to speak in opposition or with concern?
So I have one more question I forgot to mention. On the Ridge Road to...
Oh, sir, just wait till you get to the microphone. We need to pick up the audio. Thank you.
So the Ridge Road to Main Dunstable intersection, there is no shoulder there. It's a pretty dangerous during the winter time. Now, a lot more kids coming, they're driving, right? That particular area needs to be taken care of. There is no shoulder. If somebody makes a mistake, they will go right into a couple of houses there on the right-hand side of the road. So there is no shoulder at all. That's a decaying, that even whatever that is left, that is decaying. So while it may not be a BG's issue to solve the problem, is city going to do anything, right? Because a lot more kids will be driving to this facility. So you can walk there and you can see that there is no shoulder at all on the right side.
Mr. Chair, can we just have him clarify, are you talking along the frontage?
No, the Ridge Road to the Main Dunstable intersection, right?
At the Main Dunstable
Yeah,
intersection?
Main Dunstable intersection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak in opposition or with concern? Seeing none, does any member of the public wish to speak in favor of this application? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to allow the applicant to respond to the questions that were raised.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you know, we're here for the site plan extension and the waiver request. I'm more than happy to speak to some of the items, both the Airlie Ave development and the Terrell Farm development across the road were either not yet constructed or under constructed when this project was originally approved. So I certainly appreciate the questions and comments from those residents, and I'm happy to answer them here and certainly happy to speak to them after in terms of all the information we went through as part of the original project, the use, the hours of operation. I'll speak to the tree buffer that, measure that's out there. So I think that on their property, that property was, I believe it was a conservation subdivision. So there is a stretch of open space land that exists on their side of the line. And then as reflected on our site plan, there is a buffer that will remain there after this full project is completed. So there will be a tree buffer at that location. As I talked about in terms of phasing, we're planning on working our way from west to east, so furthest away from them to start. In terms of hours of operation and use, I mean, a lot of that is on record in terms of what we described and what we talked about. This was intended to be more of a off-site practice facility for varsity, JV, freshman levels, as well as competition games for some of those, lower intensity uses. I think we were, described that BG continues to utilize Stella Stadium for their, larger events, and that would continue. That's not really the intent of the facility as it was proposed. It will be a private facility, so it's fully fenced in terms of the fields. It wouldn't be open to the public, but one of the really cool things that we thought about this project is the public improvements in the pedestrian connectivity. So this site sits in between Southwest Park, Udickie Farm, the rail trail, and of course the Dunstable Conservation Land. As the neighbors probably, the residents probably know, the public parks along Groton Road. If you're out there on a busy day, there's maybe sometimes 30, 40 cars that are all parked along there, and they utilize an existing path that you see on there to access the Dunstable Conservation Land. Trespassing through the property, it was never really enforced, so everybody kind of does it. So as part of the project, there's a public trailhead that will be built, parking and trailhead interior to our project outside of the fence, and allow the public to park in a safe manner and walk around this development and access to Groton Road. There's also a shoulder extension along Groton Road that will serve as a pedestrian connectivity to the rail trail to the west, and the crosswalk that the gentleman spoke with, which was put in for the Terrell Farm project across the street. We're going to connect to that and kind of formalize that connection. So I think a lot of those pedestrian improvements are really going to benefit the general public in that area. We spoke a little bit about traffic. As Mr. Hudson alluded to, there's some discussion to talk about. I will say for the record that this project should not necessarily be responsible for fixing all the ills along the corridor all the way back, but I stand by my statements that we'll work with Mr. Hudson and his team, as we always do, to come up with a solution that works for all parties. We didn't really get into discussion on lights and other things as part of the original approval. I think we talked a little bit about the standard hours that the city parks would have. It's important to note that because this is a private facility to be used by Bishop Girton and other folks, in terms of traffic, I do think it's more of a seasonal use. So during the wintertime, this isn't going to be used. During the daytime, there would be little use, if any. So in terms of traffic, certainly there would be peak uses, but in other times, the site would be vacant. And then lastly, there were some questions and comments about construction noise and traffic, and certainly BG and their site team would follow all city ordinances in terms of traffic and hours of construction. Mr. Chair, I apologize if I missed anything. I tried to address some of the notes I took down.
No, Mr. Zajac, thank you for addressing them. Additional follow-ups for Mr. Zajac, Alderman Klee, and I guess I did just want to state one thing. The request this evening is for a time extension. It's not to reopen what was already approved, so I think we have heard about the traffic element eloquently from Mr. Hudson. So I guess I'll leave it at that, but I did just want to state that for the record. They are just here, not as a reapplication, but as for an extension of time. So. Go ahead.
Thank you. I was going to address the fact that many of the comments weren't towards the waiver, but I do understand. I always understand residents sometimes that have just kind of heard about this being re-upped and so on do have some concerns and so on. And your comment about that you shouldn't have to fix the ills of the past, I couldn't agree with you more. But I've always said this since I've been on this board and being an alderman, is that as things grow, the people on the ends are the ones who suffer. So while I do agree with you, I also have to say someone's got to pay the piper. So as we grow, we do try to make each growth kind of pay and do something. But the newest person on the block is the one who's going to have to take care of it, and the residents who are living there shouldn't have to suffer as a way. But I do agree with the chairman here, is that is not your waiver, and as long as you really are willing to work with our engineering department and so on, I do feel a little bit comfortable. And thank you for addressing their issues, because we do need to hear from the public. So thank you.
Other questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I mean, you can, but is it something that has not been addressed, or, because at some point, we're going to close the public hearing and go to our meetings.
Yeah, real quick, if you don't mind.
Just reintroduce yourself for the record.
Yeah, Joe Farley, 7 Airlie Ave. What does the city of Nashua get out of this extension besides them not having to do extra paperwork? I mean, you're giving them a 24-month extension, right? That's what's up, 24 months. It could be completely different in 24 months. Why not have them come back in a year, and then you guys reassess what the whole property looks like? Things may change. Giving them 2 years, get 2 divisions that were built in 2 years. Who's to say it's not going to change anymore, right? So I say, hey, listen, let them do the extra paperwork. What's wrong with that? You know, have them sit in front of you guys and not have to, like, hey, we did this 2-3 years ago, let's get another 2 years. That's 5 years. Like, why wouldn't you guys just say, let's talk about this in a year. We'll give you an year extension, and then we'll talk about another year or 2 after that. Just see how the land's already been laid and what it's going to look like in the future. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm not going to address it. The board shouldn't have to, other than it was a legal application. The board is bound to act on a legal application that we took jurisdiction over. Mr. Zajac, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, 2 years versus 1 year, but you're welcome to respond.
Yeah, I think our waiver letter lays out the case of the uniqueness here. It's not that, it's the 2 years is to get to the vesting in terms of the building permit or establishing the use. So we're not asking for 24 months to have the next site plan extension. We're asking for, once we get going, to be able to have 24 months to establish the use. So I think it's different than what was described.
Thank you. Alderman Cleve, please.
Thank you. I kind of want to elaborate on what was just said. If I'm not mistaken, and please, Mr. Chairman or staff, correct me if I'm wrong here, if they started working tomorrow but couldn't finish it within a year, they would be partly through the project and have to come back and ask for an extension. Is that correct? If we didn't give them the 24 months?
Not necessarily. There's a concept called active and substantial development, which is generally defined as foundations and footings. This board has modified that threshold in the past, but basically once you've achieved that level of substantial development, your approval has vested and it remains active, and you would not be subject to changes in local ordinances. But yeah, so that's what that.
So if I may follow up, so if they were granted 12 months but were able to break ground in 12 months, then that would not become an issue, is that correct?
Right, so if they were able to, just to ensure that we're talking about the same thing, when you say break ground,
Well-
do you mean achieving this level of threshold?
Right. In
Yeah,
other
so
words-
if they did within 12 months, they would not have to keep coming back for extensions.
May I ask the applicant a question?
Certainly.
Thank you. You don't feel that you would be able to reach that goal within 12 months? Is that why you have the 24 months?
Yeah, it's a little bit about the uniqueness of the project and the phasing. So typically that process is completed, that milestone is achieved when you're issued a building permit.
Right.
But all we have here, we're mostly site. So we just have this small locker room maintenance building that's going to be in a future phase. So it's just making sure that as BG moves through that phasing process, that they're able to establish the use once they get started, rather than having to come back. But we're not asking for an extension. We're in a conditional, we're still conditionally approved plan. We're not asking for an extension of that. We're asking an extension of, once we finalize the site plan, we'd like 24 months to get to that point of vesting.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Mr. Martley.
And just to maybe have staff reiterate, because I think this may address in part the concern that was raised by the abutters. It's, if some material change were required to the site plan in the intervening period, the applicant would have to return to this board to seek approval of any material change to the site plan.
Yes.
So it is just a function of meeting that, substantially underway test. It is not a matter of an ability to change the site plan in the intervening period. Thanks.
Yeah, they'll be starting with the fields first, I would assume, and then going to the buildings.
Right, but even without going down that path, all prior conditions still hold.
Right,
Like, it's the same
it's an extension.
application, it's a
Right.
time extension, that is the crux of the matter. So they can phase it however they want, or however it's financially viable for them to do so. It's been approved, there's existing conditions of approval, and I think that's the matter at hand before the board this evening, is whether or not the waiver for the 2-year extension is applicable and satisfactorily met. So if there's no further public input at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing. We're going to go into our meeting. Quite a bit of testimony this evening for a time extension. I appreciate Mr. Hudson's feedback considerably on the outstanding traffic elements, but it seems like there's a path to resolution there, at least with proportional impacts related to this application. And if there's an opportunity for some interim or shorter term improvements, it seems like the applicant is amenable to that. So I personally would have no issues granting the waiver for the time extension. But obviously, I'd love to hear from other members of the board on that. Mr. Varley?
Mr. Chair, I think just briefly in part for, again, the benefit of members of the public here, I mean, and to reiterate some of the points that you've made, obviously this, as you said, this plan is coming before us for an extension. The only change that's being proposed, other than the extension, is the phasing itself. None of the underlying features of the site plan are being modified, and so just, obviously, this is a little bit unique in the sense that there has been some, development on the abutting properties in the interim period, so that changes sort of just the practical, layout around the site. But just so everyone understands, this plan was thoroughly vetted by the planning staff when it originally came before us, was, vetted by this board. There were a number of conditions imposed. So it's not as if we're giving short shrift to the concerns that have been raised. It's just that we've already had the opportunity to vet those, and we've done so, and, we think that we effectively addressed them through the conditions that were originally imposed. So just wanted to, just say that for everyone's benefit.
Thank you for doing so, for the record, Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? Questions for staff? I guess with that being the case, have to take a motion on the waiver first. I don't know if any member of the board is prepared to make a motion regarding the waiver. Mr. Green, please.
I'd like to make a motion for new business A25-0162, that their waiver request, using the rationale provided in the attached letter dated November 24th, 2025, that 190-146E1 to allow 24-month period for the building permit to be issued by the administrative officer, or the use to be established from the date of the site plan approval to where it is a 12-month period, or where a 12-month period is the maximum allowed. So we are using, I messed that one up a little bit, and we want to extend that approval for 24 months instead of that 12-month period. Finding that strict conformity would pose unnecessary hardship to applicant, and it would not be contrary to the spirit and intent of the regulations. And the specific circumstances or conditions of the land indicate the waivers will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations.
Okay, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? second by Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Green, would you care to continue the thought on granting final site plan approval?
Yes, for new business A25-0162, I'd like to make a motion to grant final site plan approval for the one-year extension of the site plan approval and implementation of the phasing at 40 Groton Road, that it meets the requirements outlined in 190-146D, subject to the following subsequent conditions 1 and 2 in the staff report.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second?
May I ask a question?
I think,
Or is it too late?
I think we
Okay.
need to add a second on the motion
Okay,
first, and then we
sure.
can have
Sorry.
discussion. So second by Mr. Hudson. Any discussion?
I
Alderman
do,
Clee.
yes, thank you. The subsequent conditions, we do not have to put what Mr. Hudson spoke about for the traffic and so on, is that, because that's already part of the original stipulations or conditions, is that
Good-
correct?
Good question. That's my understanding, but a perfect opportunity for Mr. Hudson just to clarify.
Yeah, I think the discussion was that those conditions need to be met prior to signing of the plan, so basically, I think we're covered via the previous condition, which is referenced here.
All right.
Okay, so the comment, number 1, where it says all prior conditions of approval is indicated. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that motion? All right, so that motion is still on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, motion passes. Next item on the agenda, case A25-0041, property located at 16 Pennachuck Street. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review that application for completeness and is willing to make a motion regarding board accepting jurisdiction? Mr. Varley.
Mr. Chair, as to A25-0041, I would make a motion this application is complete and ready for the board to accept jurisdiction.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks. Board has jurisdiction. Is someone here on behalf of the applicant who would like to speak?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Trevor Yanda with Meridian Land Services here on behalf of Gateway Homes, and the owners here in the audience as well. As far as a brief overview of the project, it's a 6-unit, single-family detached condominium on a 1.8-acre parcel on Pennachuck Street in the north end of the city. The applicant did receive a variance from the ZBA back in July of this year to permit multiple primary structures on a lot. Density proposed is 3.27 units per acre. The allowed density is 6, so we are well under that threshold, but as I'm sure you can see by the plans, we've kind of got what we can fit on this parcel where we think it's reasonable both to the people that are going to own it and keep in character with the surrounding area as well. It's surrounded by single-family residential, between 1/4 and 1/2 acre lots, 300, in all directions. It's going to be serviced by municipal sewer and water. The sewer is a little bit of a unique case just due to topography of the lot versus sewer in Pennachuck Street isn't really viable to receive gravity flow. So we are proposing to connect via sewer easement through 2 parcels to the northwest to connect down to Brinton Street. And we have had discussions with Mr. Hudson's office, just indicating that that's, it's an acceptable route to proceed as far as that goes. The units would be served by a cul-de-sac road, roughly 350 feet, just a little more in overall length, 24-foot width. Stormwater for the site is via 3 infiltration basins. There's one at the entrance to the site that would receive runoff from kind of the straight section of the road via sheet flow, and then be infiltrated into the underlying soils. We did have very deep, we didn't encounter seasonal high water table or ledge. It's all pretty sandy. Good material out there to promote recharge. As far as that goes, we are post-development peak flow rates are all less than the pre-development conditions. So we feel that it's more than adequate to service the site. As far as traffic, I know at the ZBA hearing there was concern from the abutters brought up just in terms of the amount of traffic. And while I can't deny that there will be an increase in traffic, the increase itself is going to be fairly negligible. When looking at the surrounding areas, we're looking at around 6 trips per hour during the peak, 4 to 6 p.m. or the 7 to 9 a.m. Window there. So I know that's been raised, but we don't feel that it's a huge issue at this point in time. As far as the staff report, I know staff had pointed out kind of three comments regarding just some follow-up items that the applicant needs to take. We don't take any exception to those 3 items in terms of the road names, the development sign, or the stormwater operations and maintenance plans. Those will all be incorporated into the final set of drawings. Those changes haven't been made yet, but we intend to do that. I guess speaking quickly on the development sign, I think at this point in time, the applicant's not going to pursue anything of that nature at this point, and if they want to in the future, they understand that they'd have to come back for that. We are seeking 3 waivers from the land use code as outlined in the staff report. The first one being existing conditions within 1,000 feet. We feel that that's going to be an unnecessary hardship for the applicant, just given that we've prepared a complete existing conditions drawing that is adequate to depict the surrounding area and the development that's going to occur on the parcel. The second one being the requirement of a lighting plan. The lighting that's proposed is all going to be building-mounted porch lights, if you will, that are fairly, don't give off any significant amount of light. We don't feel that an illumination photometric plan is really warranted in this scenario. The third being the sidewalk waiver. The applicant has elected the in lieu fee contribution. There's no sidewalk on Pennachuck Street or anywhere. I think on Concord Street's probably the closest one. So again, it doesn't feel applicable for this project. And I guess lastly, regarding the engineering comments issued by Mr. Hudson's office, I did follow up with Joe Mandola a couple days ago or yesterday. Most of them we take absolutely no exception to. They're mostly clerical, just cleaning up the plans. And then there are a few drainage-related items that I feel that we can work through, before the final plans are issued. With that, that's kind of all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate the time.
Thank you for the presentation. No questions for me at the moment. Questions from members of the board? Alderman Klee, please.
I'm sorry to be the person on this one. I have driven by this, and I know you've got a narrow entranceway into the, which was, I think, a concern from some of the residents within that area, whether or not you were going to be able to negotiate. Would you be coming in when they're trying to pull out of their driveways and so on? I did not see that as an issue, but is there that was just a comment I wanted to make, but my true question is about the waiver for the 1,000 feet. Where is it that, I'm not as good on reading these things, but where is it that the 1,000 feet is being required? I apologize.
Section 190-282, item B9. And-
I know, but I'm saying on your property, where is the 1,000 feet from?
I mean, it's, my.
I can speak to that if you'd like. So
Please, yes, thank you. I
So
apologize for
the
this.
land use code requires that a number of site conditions be shown and notated on plan sets, and this could be from roads, trails, rock features, terrain, and it's 1,000 feet past the property boundary line of the subject property. And a lot of the time that the applicant requests to waive that because it's kind of a non-issue. It's just not, it's not necessary for the review of the site on hand. And so they've given a general indication of the layout of the surrounding properties, but again, you won't see like the terrain, you won't see the all the structures there. And so this is just a waiver for that requirement.
May I?
Certainly.
Thank you. I guess, I just wanted to make sure that this was not within 1,000 feet of an abutter that could affect their property. Is that, or is it just of structures and so on?
No, it's strictly like a notational survey requirement that's in the land use code.
Fine, thank you so much. And if I may, just one quick question.
Sure, certainly.
Going back to my first comments about your drive coming out and so on, I will be honest, the opposite side of where you are is my ward, Ward 3.
Understood.
The other side used to be my ward. It's now Ward 2 since they've done redistricting. So I have heard from constituents about that concern. And I'm just going to throw this out. It's not a requirement. It's just something, as an alderman, I'm kind of stating. They had asked if you could have like kind of a yield or a stop sign, kind of just to tell people, be careful when you're pulling out on the street.
There-
It's not a requirement. It's not from this board. It's just as an alderman speaking.
Yep, understood. And I believe we do have a stop bar and a stop sign proposed at the egress point of the site, so.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Thank you, Alderman Klee. Other members of the board? Certainly. Mr. Zoller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to rubbish and recycling, is the intent for DPW trucks to come into the site and, make collections within the site itself? The cul-de-sac seems, a bit tight just from a visual look. Is that going to be collected at the main street in the driveway? What does that look like?
The intent is for it to be a private waste management company. Yep, yet to be worked out, but that's the intent.
Thank you.
Yeah, just further on that, DPW doesn't pick up trash on private streets. And it's important to note that up front. We started adding that in our, right up front so that people aren't surprised, because we had a couple developments that got developed and they thought we would come and pick up because they were single-family-ish type homes, but they were in private streets. So it's a good question you ask, and it's something that we try to call out and make known right up front.
Dan, just to finish the thought, you're not going to plow it either. It's
That's true. We're not doing nothing. We're not doing anything.
Okay, good.
We love this type of development.
Mr. Leclerc, please.
Yeah, I just had a question about the sewer easement, whether, Dan, your group reviewed that location. I mean, is there a reason why it couldn't come off the northwest corner and only affect one? It sort of goes across two lots and two properties, and it has a pretty significant easement length. It seems like you could cut it in half if you brought the easement off the northwest corner of the actual site. I don't know, is it a terrain issue? Or
Yeah,
is it-
so, and
yeah.
just to be clear, you're talking about essentially just having it be lot 49-270?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so we did look at it. It's a shorter run. I agree 100% with
Yeah.
you. There is, I believe there's like a ledge outcropping, and there might even be some improvements from that abutter there as well, like more significant than, we know there's a playground area on lot 207. But the owner has kind of been working both of those abutters, and they're both on board with it, and it's, I think, the easiest path to tying in, avoiding any hammering of ledge or anything like that.
Yeah, and just to further expound upon that, that will be a private service, so it's basically an easement between private entities. It's not an easement to the benefit of the city. So, they've worked with the abutters, is my understanding, to develop the rights, and so maybe it's shorter to go one way, but maybe it's more feasible to go another for whatever reasoning there is between the parties.
Other questions from the board? Alderman Clee, to answer one of your earlier questions, just flipping through the site plan set, it looks
Right.
like there is in fact a stop bar and a stop sign proposed, just to
Perfect.
confirm what Trevor had stated, so.
I truly do appreciate that. Thank you.
The only thing, actually, I had additionally at this time, Trevor, was there was a letter that came in, I think it was yesterday or today, regarding a tree. I don't know if you had an opportunity to review that correspondence. I'm not going to read it. Oh, is that it? All right. I don't know if.
We'll test your young eyes.
Yeah. That individual, actually, maybe Trevor, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I thought you would have seen the letter, but let me ask this. Other questions for the applicant's rep at this time, or, because if not, oh.
Just a quick note, just so we don't forget it. I think in the staff report, the sidewalk contribution is listed as $22.50. I think it's $25.50 based on at least based on what the applicant's letter indicates, 51 feet. It's a minor difference, but just so we don't forget it.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Varley. I did want to open it up to the public, just again, to address the letter. I don't know if that individual's here, but before I do that, other questions from the board at this time? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for the moment.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in the audience that wanted to speak in opposition or with concern to this application? Okay, seeing none. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Seeing none. I'm going to put staff on the spot. Would you care to briefly summarize the letter?
Sure.
I want to make.
Yeah,
I don't want to make Trevor read through it all.
No worries.
There's some citations in there and whatnot.
Yep.
So.
So we received this correspondence yesterday, and basically they are aware of the project and sought, I understand there's going to be some tree clearing for site prep, and was concerned about a tree that is on her property, but might be affected and could die, I guess, because of the site work, and was wondering if it could be cleared as well, I guess, just as a neighborly request. I haven't spoke to the individual who sent this to get more information about what she was asking in detail, but that is the summation she was worried about.
If that's the summation, I don't think it's this board, we'd have the authority to mandate that this applicant cut down a tree on someone else's private property. It was more about making the applicant be aware that there was this correspondence. If they choose to deal with that privately amongst themselves, that's up to them, but I don't think that's any stipulation that we could mandate. Trevor, I don't know if you want to respond. You don't have to necessarily. I think we just discussed what the ask was, and I don't know if you have anything to add on the matter.
I think the applicant has discussed it with that individual, and I guess I'd just leave it at that, for them to work it out if an agreement could be reached or something.
We won't be involved in making you work it
Yeah.
out. Oh, okay, all right. Or not working it out.
Or whatever. Yeah, okay.
All right. I think if there's no other public input, one last chance. Questions of the applicant? Nope. All right. This time then, thank you for your testimony. I'm going to close the public hearing. We'll go into our meeting. Some good discussion on this one. We don't get enough drainage questions, Scott, thank you. But Dan, it seemed by and large, reading through there was quite a list of engineering comments, but there didn't seem to be anything super substantial. Did you care to comment on?
Yeah, I'd affirm what Trevor stated generally about the comments, and that most of them are fairly minor. The one about the drainage is one that we need to resolve. There's some overflows from the retention areas, or infiltration areas, I should say, that kind of direct towards budding properties, and so there's a few things that we still need to further discuss. I think they can all be mitigated and modified. It's gonna mean some small changes to the plan probably to do that, but I don't think they're insurmountable, so I'm comfortable with moving forward.
Okay.
Referencing the conditions or the comments that we have.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Clee?
Thank you. I just want to make a comment that I think that this development and so on is going to be very similar to what it abuts at Nathan's Court. I don't see too much difference within that. I think there's almost about the same number of homes when you go completely around that cul-de-sac of Nathan's Court, and that goes into Brinton. Brinton is a newer street and so on and so forth, but I feel very comfortable as long as the drainage issues and the issues from engineering have been satisfied before anything gets signed and put into place. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion or questions for staff? Seeing none, couple of thoughts on the waivers. The 1,000-foot requirement is probably one of our most frequent waiver requests. So that's the first. I'll skip to the third. Mr. Varley, I apologize, I didn't do the arithmetic, but I know you did.
2025-50 instead of 2250.
2550. All right. I guess the other one was the lighting plan. I didn't know if staff had any comment on that, if that's reasonable given the surrounding environs, or.
We don't feel that a interior utility light layout is necessary for this site. It's going to be similar to what the neighborhood already is, with just the property lights being on the building.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Connor. Again, I thought it was a very complete package and presentation. It seems like the technical matters on some of the remaining issues can be worked out with staff. Other than that, I'd be inclined to support this project. That said, I don't know if any member of the board is willing to move forward on this. But we would, Alderman Clee, yes.
I apologize. I do have just one more question, and I had seen it earlier. There was a technical comment in the staff report about the installing a development sign at the entrance.
I believe there was testimony.
That it was not.
We've closed the public hearing, so you can give a nod that you were not going to pursue a sign, an exterior sign?
Not at this point.
Not at this point?
I thought that's what had been
Okay.
said, so that's why I just wanted to reiterate it. So thank you so much. I appreciate your indulgence.
No, thank you for the question. All right. If a board member were so inclined, we'd have to take up the waivers first. I don't know if anybody's prepared to make a motion at this time. Mr. Green, all right, go for it.
I'd like to make a motion for new business A25-0041 to grant the following waivers. The first, 190-279EE, to waive the requirements to show existing conditions on adjacent parcels. The second is 190-275B, to waive the requirements to provide a lighting plan. And the third, 190-212A1, to waive the requirement that the sidewalk be located on at least one side of the street. The applicant has agreed to make a contribution of the amount of $2,550 in lieu of sidewalk construction pursuant to 190-212D2. And this is using the rationale provided by the applicant on their October 23rd, 2025 letter, finding that strict conformity would pose unnecessary hardship, and specific circumstances and conditions of the site will properly carry out the spirit and intent of the regulations laid out in the staff report.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Hirsch. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Mr. Green, would you care to continue?
I will continue. For new business A25-0041, I'd like to make a motion to grant final site plan approval for the construction of the 6-unit, single-family detached condominium development on 16 Pennachuck Street, finding that the applicant meets requirements outlined in 190-146D, subject to the following subsequent conditions noted in the staff report A through O, and an amendment to K, noting that the amount is $2,550. That was also mentioned in the previous waivers.
All right, thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right. Moving along, case A25-0180, property located at 106 Pine Street. Has any member of the board had an opportunity to review this application for completeness and is willing to make a motion regarding board accepting jurisdiction? Alderman Clee.
I'll try to take a crack at this.
All right.
I'd like to motion that the board take jurisdiction and that all requirements have been met.
All
Did I
right.
say that properly? Thank you.
Thank you. Motion by Alderman Clee. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Mr. Zajac, welcome back. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, for the record, my name is Tom Zajac. I'm a civil engineer with Hayner Swanson. Now I make 3 Congress Street here in Nashua, representing Marguerite's Place on this application. Mr. Chair, this one is a fairly straightforward request. We're seeking a 1-year extension from the approval last fall. This is an exciting project for Marguerite's Place. I'm happy to talk about it in more detail, but we're not proposing any plan changes, no changes to the conditions of approval. The reason for the extension is Marguerite's Place and their team, including Harvey Construction, are ready to start the project next spring or summer and are waiting the last piece of their funding, which they hope to come in at the beginning of this next year. And looking forward to constructing the project and getting them their much-needed space. As you know, they're a vital group to our community, and will provide them much-needed apartments, as well as meeting space and offices that abut their current locations on Palm Street to our rear. So the only question I guess I had for staff, I think I heard in the initial communication that there was maybe a change to the staff report or an update. I know Scott did a good job providing the history. The conditions on the one I read just seem to be all previous conditions, so.
Yep, it was just a typo from kind of using a previous staff report. We referenced a property that's not relevant to this case.
Perfect. With that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn things back to you.
All right, thank you. Questions for Mrs. Zajac at this time? Seeing none. Ma'am, are you here to speak on this application this evening? No? Okay. All right. No members of the public are here. One last chance for the board. No? All right, we're going to close the public hearing then, go into our meeting. A more straightforward time extension than our previous one, but I would be all in favor of this. I thought it was a good project previously. Alderman Clee, please.
Thank you. I 100% agree with what you just said. This is an incredible project. I think that it's something that is needed for our community, and considering the local issues that we're having with homelessness and unhoused in general, Marguerite's Place does such an incredible job. I think they've met all the criteria and everything, so to give them this extension for funding needs, much like I said in the previous one, I understand that you can't get funding unless you have approvals, and so I think it is important for us to do this, so thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the board at this time? If the board were so inclined, I guess we'd be looking for a motion to make a determination regarding, too small for me to read. I trust someone else can do it. Mr. Green, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'd like to make a motion for new business A25-0180, to make a determination to extend the final site plan approval for the proposed development and associated site plan improvements on 106 Pine Street. We are finding the site plan meets the approval criteria under 190-46D, and that such final approval includes the following conditions, subsequent conditions noted in the staff report, and that is, there's only one, and that is A.
All right. Thank you. Motion by Mr. Green. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Clee. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
All right. A couple of quick ones. Review, next item on the agenda under other business, review of tentative agenda. Any member of the board had an opportunity to review the projects, review the project list for projects of regional impact. I was willing to make a motion. Mr. Green?
Before we do, what was the one that was added to this one again? Didn't you mention there was a change in the staff report or the tentative agenda?
Yes, we updated the tentative agenda just to include items that we fielded. So the deadline for the January 8th meeting was the same day as the packets went out, so we didn't have necessarily time to do a turnaround, but I thought that since I could update it, I would. So these are just to include new cases that are going forward to the January 8th meeting.
Thank you.
Did that satisfy your question?
I haven't read those ones yet, so
You have? Oh,
I'm
come
reading
on.
them now, so
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah. Not to put it on Mr. Green, but I'll give him an opportunity to peruse the list. Mr. Varley?
I mean, if, I can hold off, wait. But I would be willing to make a motion that, having reviewed the tentative agenda, that there are no proposals of regional impact.
All right. Motion by Mr. Varley. Is there a second? Second by Alderman Clee. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention?
Yeah, there you go.
2. Understood. Thank you. All right.
So that was Dan abstending and, okay, yeah, Cameron, okay.
Dan's trying not to bias his own project. I understand the play. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. All right. Next item on the agenda, Board of Aldermen referral, R-25-221 relative to tax deeded property auction. Connor, I didn't, did you want to provide any context here? or-
Sure, yeah. So this is a list of properties that have been conveyed to the city by tax deed. There's several properties going back to 2007 that had tax levies that, I guess as a matter of last resort, the city acquired and are now seeking planning board approval to dispose of them via auction. And a previous proposal came to the board earlier this year. They auctioned off somewhere, I believe, in the summertime, and I guess enough has accumulated to warrant another action to dispose of new properties.
Just one second.
Mhm.
All right, thank you, Connor, appreciate it. Just want to make sure he was done. Alderman
That's okay.
Clee, question?
Yeah, if I may discuss this more, because as was stated, we had many properties come to the board, and if you'd indulge me and I can explain a little bit about how all this happens is, by state law, if X number of years are not paid in taxes, the city has not just had the right, but has to start the deeding process, meaning that we take over the property and can use it for the city's purpose, or we can auction it off. The key here is that the city, by state law, cannot gain more money than the past taxes and interest plus the cost of disposing of these properties. Any monies in an auction that comes above that is returned to the current person's name on the deed. Whether it be, oftentimes it's not just a person that we're deeding the home from. Sometimes it's people that have died and the estate and so on. So we have to do all that, and that's a very extensive process. We don't do, I don't believe we do deed backgrounds and so on to find out if there's any other encumbrances or liens on it or something. City has the first right on it. The other thing is, during this entire process, the city makes every effort possible to work with the current owners to get them to literally buy it back. Once we've done a taking, and that's what it's called, doing a taking. The city works with the people to find out if their payment plan can be done. There is interest in it. It's not just a free payment plan, and so on. So every effort is made, and I can tell you at the last takings that we had, literally just as we were going to auction, there were a couple of buybacks. And just as a side note to properties that may not be listed here, but to people who are listening, they'll say, well, taxes haven't been paid on this property for a long time. Why haven't you done a taking of it? And sometimes we don't do a taking of it because there's underground things that the city does not want responsibility for. We would have to do cleanup. So that's just kind of a side note. This is heartbreaking to do this taking, but at the same time, if the city left these taxes go unpaid and so on, we're doing a disservice to the rest of the residents. So sometimes you have to put your heart in your desk drawer and work with your brain. But I will tell you, the city of Nashua does everything possible. So even if this is approved, this is not cast in stone that these, in fact, will be auctioned off. In the meantime, the city is working very hard with these people, or the families of these people. Some of them are businesses, and so on. So, thank you.
Thank you for the context. I appreciate that. Questions for staff or other comments on the matter? Mr. Hudson.
Yeah, I just been looking through the properties quickly here, but 3 to 5 Curtis, that abuts a wetland area on the other side is
Those are still on there? Those should have been pulled off.
3, it's
Yeah.
under land, it's number, it's at
Yeah.
number 6 on here, so it's 3 to 5 Curtis, that abuts a wetland area, so I
Half
don't
of
know.
that's in the water, yeah. That-
Yeah, I don't know if that's one that we should be selling necessarily.
I would say no. If someone tries to put a building permit forward on that, half the property is in water right now, so.
Maybe we'd sell to a
Protected.
butter, but I don't know if it's a buildable lot.
Oh, no, is that the criteria that we're,
No,
not
not the buildable lot, forget I said that.
No, your point is well taken, though.
It may have a higher city use as the point.
Yeah, because I think the question just seems to be, as with most aldermanic resolutions, we would need to make either a favorable or unfavorable recommendation. I'd have to make the presumption, given the testimony we heard from Alderman Clee, that this has been thoroughly vetted. I don't know if the 3 through 5 lot is a typo perhaps, but I would imagine that could be rectified if there was an error there through aldermanic process.
If I may,
Please.
I do want to comment that by the time this gets to the vote with the aldermen, some of these may have been taken off. I know that we probably have always done a thumbs up and a thumbs down. I will look to staff if there are some concerns about the property, if we could put that in just comment, so that when it came to the Board of Aldermen would have that context. I don't see any problem with that, saying we approve this with the following comments, or we give a thumbs up, or, or something to that nature, because I do think, I'm here, and I could bring it up, but heaven forbid I don't make that Board of Aldermen meeting. I would like to see something in writing that just addresses it. And again, we get this, and then sometimes we get what we call the goldenrod. It's bright yellow like this, which is the amended version of it, and some of them will have been taken off by then. We will also have public hearing. We will have many other different things that happen to this.
So just a question to follow up on that. What you're describing would essentially be the board giving staff some latitude in creating language that supplements your favorable, assuming, recommendation regarding some properties that we clearly need to do a little further research on. So we would be prepared to give you language that we would be essentially be speaking on your behalf relative to property. If we determine that this is, it's either wetland or it may even be conservation land, something like that. I'm not sure if the board is comfortable with just giving us the latitude to do that, but I just want to frame it that way, as that would essentially is what you seem to be asking for.
I think in the past, it doesn't happen often. I believe we have added specific pointed language, though. I guess I would ask that if the board had the appetite for that, that it is specific pointed language rather than or perhaps tying some nebulous comment that allows staff to be an intermediary between the board, because I think this is our opportunity to comment on it. I'm despite obviously some of the hardship and that you described behind the process, I'm willing to sort of accept it's an aldermanic duty, and at least the list that is presented, again, I'm sort of presumptively assuming that it's correct, knowing that, as you previously indicated, things could change after the fact. But I still think we'd have to make our recommendation based on, the best information that we have in front of us at the time.
Mayor,
Please, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I don't disagree with you, but it gets forwarded to various different committees for their perspective, for their eye to be on it. And I think to just say we agree with it or we disagree with it doesn't do the knowledge of this board or Mr. Hudson or something justice, in that I personally have no problem with Mr. Durfee's comments about, taking what we've said and kind of, because the letter actually is from the board, but it's summarized by the planning department. I do think for the education of the Board of Aldermen, we are not all knowing and omnipotent, although sometimes we think we are, and we rely on boards like this. We rely on public comment, believe it or not. We rely on everything before we make our decision. So the fact that it was sent to here for our comment, I think would be a good idea for us, even if it's just a side note. There were concerns raised about this, and Mr. Durfee could say, no, this really isn't wetland. I trust Mr. Hudson's comments on it, but again,
I guess
it's
where
the
I was
appetite of the
going-
board.
I guess my only, and then so I'll let Scott chime in. I guess it's not our determination tonight to decide whether it's a buildable lot or not a buildable lot. It's just
No.
the disposition of property. The one Dan mentioned, though, 3 through 5 Curtis, at least according to GIS, the city already owns that, so.
They own all these.
They own all of
That's
them.
what
Yeah.
yeah, so how they sell them after the fact,
Yeah.
like, it's not up to us to ultimately decide what their highest and best use is. Scott?
Yeah, I mean, we've done a bunch of these in the past, and it's totally fine to put a comment.
Yeah.
You know, you can say anything, you can
Yeah.
say favorable recommendation,
Right.
you know, recommend you review all the properties for, you know, additional environmental impacts and other, you know, or something. You can make it like that too, just to flag that
Yeah.
you might, you know,
Yeah,
and you can
and I
even
would-
say in particular, these lots may need further investigation.
And I think something like that
That's
would be
fine.
a good catch-all.
Yeah,
And
that's-
again, if that's what you're applying, Alderman Clean,
Exactly.
and I missed that, then
Yeah. No,
my
no.
my apologies, so.
I don't think I was clear enough. I'm not asking for any of these to be taken off the list. That will be determined through our tax people and so on. And I have not seen the Board of Aldermen take anything off the list. We just do the action. But in our discussions and so on, we rely on people in the room that are smarter than us, is what I always tend to say. And I look at this board as being that. You guys have that impact, and I'm not asking you to take anything off. I'm not even asking you to recommend, but I think comment of that there was question or there was, but I also think that Mr. Durfee's office can clarify that, and I would trust his language.
I guess my follow-up would be then, how would we want to craft that if we were to, I'm not putting you on the spot. Just
I
asking-
think what Mr. Leclerc
All right.
had basically said is just that we give final approval with the caveat of perhaps some of the properties, and you can even say, you know, such as number 635 Curtis Drive, that for any kind of environmental impact and so on.
Properties may need
Right.
further technical evaluation prior to public auction. Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, I looked through them. I would recommend that three of these properties be evaluated that way, 3 to 5 Curtis, as they noted, and then L Irene Street and L Narrow Street. Those are ones that I question if we should be proceeding with sale. They all seem to abut other conservation property and/or the first one being a wetland property. So those are the 3 that I would pull out and highlight if we so chose, as recommending further consideration of possible city retention for environmental conservation needs. How about that?
I like that. And it's possible after I'm sorry, I spoke out of turn.
Oh, no, you didn't. No,
I-
open here.
And I think even possibly after this, the board reading this, and so on, and hear what you had, we might even further send it on to the Conservation Committee for their input and so on. And that's how things kind of progress. So I really do like this idea, but.
Good point. Larry, go ahead.
Would it be more appropriate for Dan to basically send his own letter to the Board of Aldermen saying, these are my concerns? Because we're not evaluating all the properties. We haven't seen them, we don't know anything about them. It's all second, third-hand information. Not that I'm doubting it, but it's just, we're not in any position to do that. It would seem like Dan, if they were to write a letter to the board.
Yeah, I'd comment on that. Certainly as staff, I could do that myself as a city engineer, but why did this come to this board?
Right.
This board is supposed to be considering these, and if we concur that they should be sold or not, that's why it's being referred to us. So, you know, if the board isn't to the place that we've individually reviewed each one and we've come to that assessment, that's fine. I in fact just reviewed them just barely myself, so I'm not taking credit as if I did this a long time ago. So if the board's not ready to make a motion, I'm fine with that. I'm just, and if they choose not to, maybe I will send that letter of my own, but those are the 3 that I see that drew my eye for potentially requiring additional consideration.
Yeah, just to be clear, I mean, the board has an obligation to take an action, recommendation or not. It doesn't preclude Dan from separately communicating with the Board of Aldermen to say,
hey, here are my additional
And
thoughts.
Sam, and Sam.
And Sam. Others too, yeah, not, sorry, not to pick on just you, Dan. So, I mean, I think we can, I think we've got enough where we can give a meaningful comment back to the Board of Aldermen.
Right.
And again, not shut down comment from other sources.
How about,
Not exclusive to Dan.
I
How
do,
about-
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
Again, I apologize for speaking out of turn.
no, I wasn't recognized, that's fine.
You're all recognized. Dan,
I speak out of turn all the time.
Dan,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, come on.
I mean, maybe it's as simple as, maybe I should make a motion, why don't I do that?
Yes.
I make a motion that the board provide a favorable recommendation of passage of R 25-221 with the comment that, and request that city staff be consulted regarding any potential retention for environmental or conservation purposes.
I think that was a perfect.
Without being explicit to any property.
I think that was a perfectly crafted motion, Mr. Hudson. Is there a second?
I'll
Second by Mr. Varley. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Last item on the agenda.
Should we discuss the fact that we're not going to mark this down? Since it's closed?
I think, given the hour, I would be all for, I don't know what the first light agenda would be. You guys have intimated that the first January meeting might be a little heavy.
Yeah, it won't be that one.
Thank you. I'm all in favor of getting together. I think we haven't had our last meeting a year ago this long in a while, so some of our options might be limited. And then also there's the fact that Martha's was explicitly written into the agenda, and I don't know. I won't stop others from going, but I'm probably going to gracefully bow out this evening. So,
Me as well.
So unless there's further discussion on that, I think we'd be looking for a motion to adjourn. But before we do so, I do just want to say thank you all for your service again this year. It's been my pleasure, and I hope you all have a great Christmas, holiday season, and New Year's. And,
No, I'm good.
Oh.
No, behind you.
someone-
Go on.
I was staying because I was hoping there'd be an opportunity for the community, someone from the community to talk about and give testimony about the board of, the planning board and the meetings. Is that part of it? It's not about a project, it's about this one, your board.
I wouldn't be opposed to letting you speak, since you've waited so patiently. My apologies, I thought you were just observing when you didn't testify in any of the cases, so, yeah, if you'd like to speak, certainly.
Thank you.
If you just want to state your name and address for the record, please, and you can adjust the microphone if you need to.
Okay, my name is Beth Raymond, and I live at 14 Pennachuck Street. So as a result of living at 14 Pennachuck Street, I've been very interested in tracking the process that the developer next door has gone through. And I just wanted to give testimony regarding the difficulty of receiving communications or accessing communications regarding projects. I know the board is not in charge of the website or whatever is up on the website, but as an individual who has tried very hard to be able to get the information regarding when they're on the agenda, what their backup documents are, I tried 2 or 3 times. Each time it went through differently. I finally ended up going to my alderman to ask my alderman to give me the information regarding what was coming up. Particularly, personally, I was looking for Pennachuck Street. But I just want to testify, it should not be that difficult for the community to get information regarding what was happening on your board. Again, I know you're not in charge of the website, but you need to know, I'm sorry. I would like you to know that as an individual, it was very difficult. And if it was difficult for me, I can speak to the fact that it's going to be more difficult to people who are not able to access the community, able to access the website. So specifically, what I'm saying is that when I tried to go into the website to get a copy of the planning board documents, I had great difficulty, and I had to go to my alderman to be able to get that information. Even to find out which meeting, I had to track the meetings, because this process for that developer was several months. I had to track the meetings, and even tracking the meetings and who was going to come up on it was very difficult. So I know you're not in charge of the website that the city has, but you are responsible, I believe, to be sure that the community can get the information they need so that we can come to them, we can know when something's coming up, and we can get the backup information that is being presented. So it was real hard, and I think it should be easier, and I think I wanted you to know because you're responsible. I'm sorry, and I'm saying that again. It's not that you're responsible, but you are responsible to be sure the community can get their information clearly and in an easier way. So that's why I stayed.
Thank you for your testimony and thank you for your patience. I'm sorry you had to wait so long. Just to let you know, we do have professional city staff here this evening. We do have one aldermanic representative on the board, so I think your concerns will be taken seriously. And again, thank you for offering them.
I forgot to mention that I actually went to the staff and asked for assistance, and the information that I got I was not able to use it, and it wasn't helpful.
I apologize you had that experience. I'm more than happy to speak with you after this, and
I will, but I just wanted to mention the difficulties I had was with the information that I got on all three levels. So, but it's been interesting to sit with these meetings because I've never been here before and listen to the deliberations. So I just wanted to let you all know.
Understood. Thank you. All right. Well, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy holidays. Cam?
Motion to adjourn?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at 9:20.